As we discussed earlier, we'll first start with some of the commonly used terms in IT industry so that we get ourselves acquainted with it. Now, once we go through these common terms, these terms will set the tone for our words or the vocabulary that we use for the remaining sessions. Okay. So, what are these common terms that we are going to cover today? And uh, how these terms are explained. If you guys have any questions with respect to that, let me know. Okay, so let's get started with today's topic. So the first term is actually statement of work. So the first one is statement of work. What is meant by statement of work? Statement of work is an agreement, or you can call it even a contract, that is signed between the customer, okay, and the IT company or the IT organization. Now this contract between the IT organization and the customer describes the nature of the work to be performed, okay, so that tomorrow uh, customer should not come back and say that, we agreed for doing 10 different things and you guys only did 5 different things, or the IT organization should not underdo what they already agreed with for. Okay, so a statement of work is often abbreviated as SOW. Okay, you will keep hearing this term SOW or statement of work in IT industry. You can consider it as a legal contract between the customer and the IT organization or the IT company. Okay, that both have to follow. Okay, so you can have clauses like I want only uh, suppose if it is something sensitive data, so maybe I want only servers that are set up let's say Europe or America. I don't want any server to be set up outside of Europe or America, so that so that my data does not travel or does not cross boundaries. Okay, so you can have these small things to bigger things, like I'm giving this contract to so and so company to build an application, maybe e-commerce application, library management system, hospital management system, or maybe food delivery, whatever type of work, and if you want to add any legalities or challenges to it. Okay, so that is all mentioned in our SOW, that is statement of work. Okay, statement of work or SOW, that's the legal contract or agreement between the customer and the IT organization. So though you may not hear here in this training program about SOW a lot, but when you get to work, you will hear a lot about SOW, that such thing is not signed or not mentioned in our SOW, or we have to follow what the SOW says. The next item is scope. Okay, so what does scope do? Scope helps us define the boundaries for our work. Okay, so let's try to understand that from an example. Suppose you are currently at your home and then you want to go to office. Okay, from home to office. So what could probably happen is you could use some application, and let's say you are not aware of the route. You are not aware of the route to take from home to office. Now you can take help from these applications. Okay, applications that can give you navigations. Okay, how to navigate, what are the different options available to you to start from home and go to office. Okay, but suppose if I want to navigate without giving my source or destination location, is that possible? Is it possible to navigate without giving source and destination location? The answer could be no, that I cannot navigate until I give source, the location from where I want to start, and destination, the location where I want to go. Okay. So until I give source and destinations, until I give source and destination location, I will not be able to use that application. Okay. That application by default, for example, if you use Uber to book a taxi or a cab, what happens? Uber will ask you what is your current location and what is your destination location. Okay. So based on your current and destination only, it will be able to book a taxi or a cab for you. Okay, or it will be able to book a ride for you. So those source and destination location are nothing but my boundaries. Okay, that within that boundary I need to travel. Similarly, when we get to work as a business analyst, when we have to build a software, okay, we need to define the boundaries. Okay, so anything and everything that falls within the boundary is in scope. Anything that falls outside of the boundary is out of scope. Okay, so scope is a very important thing in business analyst, in a business analyst day-to-day job, because that can help save lot of time in arguments also. So sometimes your stakeholder or your client or your customer can tell that, why are you not building a feature, let's say uh, adding online payments. Making online payments. Okay. Suppose we defined a boundary or a scope for our work, and we said that making online payment is not part of the scope. Making online payments is not part of the scope. That means we are not going to work on it. Okay. So I'll give you all features, but not the online payment option. So when you want to make payment, you come to our office only. Now, what happens is, because you have mentioned this explicitly that this is not part of my boundary, so this is out of scope. So when client at a later stage argues with you, okay, or disagrees with you, you can also mention them that, hey, this is already captured in our artifacts or documents, that this is out of scope. So if you want this to be covered, if you want us to build an application around it, we can do that, but that will take some time. Okay, so that is the importance of scope. Scoping helps us define the boundaries. Unless you define the boundary for your work, there is no way we can build a software. If we don't have any boundary, like in this case, if we don't have any start and end point, we will never be able to navigate. Similarly, if we don't have boundary, we will keep on adding more features to our software. If you keep on adding more features, then how are you going to build a software, or when are you going to build a software? So at some point we need to stop. We need to say this is our boundary. Whatever falls within our boundary, that is where I will build my software. Okay. So next is change request or change requirement. Now one of the common things that you guys will see is uh, requirements are not fixed. Okay, so when you talk to a customer or when you talk to a stakeholder, they may say that let's build an application, an e-commerce application which will only sell books. Okay, which will only sell books. So just list down books, or show like the description of the book, then at what price it is available, and stuff like that. I just want to sell books and only books, that's it. Now tomorrow they may come up and say that for these books, I just don't want to sell books. I want to maybe sell daily essentials as well. Okay, what people may consume or use on a daily basis, even I want to sell that also online. Now sometimes later they may come and say that no, I just want to you know sell office supplies also. Okay, things that are needed within an office, I want to sell that also. So there are multiple things that can happen over time. Okay, remember, requirements are never fixed. Okay, because there's nothing like a constant thing in this world. Okay, we also as human beings, we keep changing, our understanding keeps changing. Okay, we keep developing or we keep acquiring new knowledge every day. So when we acquire new knowledge, naturally our understanding change. When our understanding change, we tend to change our requirements as well. So similarly, when you start working as business analyst, you will realize that there is nothing like fixed requirements. Okay, requirements keep changing or keep evolving over time. So that is what we try to capture over change request or change requirement. Okay, what is it that has changed in my requirement? What was my earlier requirement and what is the new requirement? Okay, and how are we going to manage that? So usually we ask a client, there will be some tool that the IT organization uses, because these things don't happen verbally or orally. There will be a tool where clients can enter their request. Okay, so that depends on the organization to organization, but majorly there will be a tool, and clients will use the tool to enter their requests. Okay, then what happens is, once they have entered these requests, then someone will review it. That someone doesn't have to be business analyst straight away. Okay, when we are involved, that means all the preliminary analysis has been done. Say for example, when you go to a hospital, you don't directly you don't directly meet or consult the doctor. When you go to a hospital, what happens? You may go to a reception desk where someone will be there. You will try to see if the doctor is available or not. If the doctor is available, how long do I have to wait? You have to wait for your turn. So there is some preliminary checks that are done before you go and meet the doctor. Similarly, a client will not directly hand over the work to business analyst. If there is any change that is requested, client will use the tool to enter their request. Someone in the IT organization, okay, will review the request, and only when the request is confirmed, finalized, reviewed, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to us, that means everything has been agreed with the client. Okay, agreed with the client means everything has been agreed, as in what will be the budget, what will be the time duration in which we have to implement. Now all those aspects have been discussed. So as a business analyst, I don't go to a client and discuss, hey, we will charge you $100 or we will charge you $1,000 and we will take 1 month to build this application for you. Are you okay? As a business analyst, I don't talk to my client about budget or time duration, because that is already discussed. Okay. For me, the important part is that I go to clients, I talk to them about what they want, I talk to them about what are their requirements. Sometimes these requirements, like we discussed, they may keep changing as well. Okay. And then along with that, I try to build or maintain a good rapport or relationship with the client. Okay. So that is the change request or change in requirement. Now we will cover one small topic attached to it, that is called scope creep. Okay. This is commonly abbreviated as CR. So when you hear the term C stands for change, R stands for request or requirement. Okay, so it is mentioned as CR over here. So when someone calls or use the term CR or change request or change requirement, they are trying to say the same thing. That what has changed. Okay, so CR or change requirement often means that we want a change in the way the things are being done currently. Okay. Then under the CR, we'll talk about scope creep. So what is this scope creep? So suppose there is more change or there are frequent changes in the requirement. Assume that assume that initially we agreed with the client that we will build a feature for online payments. We will build a feature for online payments. So they said that let's use credit card for in the starting. Let's use credit card for online payments. Okay. So we all agreed that a lot of people use credit cards. So let's use credit card as the online payment feature. Then later on they came back and they said that no, you do one thing, you forget about credit card. Uh, let's do something else. For example, net banking. Okay, everyone has a bank account, so we will redirect them to their bank's official website where they can log in, and then the charges will be deducted from there. Now, at a later point in time, they again come back and say that no, let's switch back to credit card. Net banking is not a good idea. Okay. Now again, after a certain time, they come back and say that no, let's switch back to net banking. Credit card is not a good idea. So this frequent changes in requirement actually does two things to us. One is we will never be able to build a software. Why? Suppose your team is trying to write down code for credit card, that how to process payments through credit card. Okay, suppose you have written the code and you are going to test it. Now client comes and changes the requirement from credit card to net banking. Now what happens? You go back and start writing new code for net banking. Now in between, they again come back and they say that let's go with credit card feature. So what happens is this frequent changes is not letting you complete your current piece of work. Okay, that is problem number one, that you are not able to finish up your work. Number two is the problem with focus. Okay, when you keep switching from one direction to another direction, back to first direction or to a new direction altogether, what happens is you lose the focus. Okay, because it distracts you so much that you lose the focus altogether, and now losing the focus could lead to quality issues. Okay, so this situation is termed as scope creep, when there is frequent change in the requirement. Frequent change in the requirement is is often termed as scope creep. Now, this frequent change could be like you are switching between the requirements, credit card, net banking, okay, or you could be adding new requirements, that credit card, net banking, and then maybe next time you are saying that I'll use my ATM or debit cards instead of credit card. I'll use ATM or debit card. So not necessarily that you are switching between the requirements, but you can be adding new requirement every time. Okay, so this frequent change often leads to two major issues, like we discussed. One is your inability to focus on certain things, plus the second thing is because you are not able to focus, so this could naturally lead to quality issues and then incomplete work. Okay, you started with credit card, you left it halfway through, and then you started with net banking, and then you left it halfway through, came back to credit card, started trying to finish it, and then again left it in between, and then moved to net banking. So this is the change request or change requirement. Changes are always good. We all understand that, businesses are not fixed piece of entity. Things will change, things will evolve. So even we welcome change. Even we like that there should be some change, because if there will be change, then only we guys will have work. If there is no change, then probably client will never ask us to build a new software. So naturally, if they are not going to ask us to build a new software, then we don't have any work. So we do want them to come up with changes, and we welcome those changes. But what we don't welcome is frequent changes, that every day or maybe every 2 days you are trying to change a requirement. That is something that we should warn the client in advance about. Okay. Next is elicitation. So elicitation in simple English means ability to gather information from someone else. Okay. In in terms of IT, what it means is we try to get information or opinion or facts from the other person. Okay. This is where we are going to get our requirements from. Okay, so as we go through the sessions, we will go through bunch of elicitation techniques, that we can use bunch of elicitation techniques, and how these elicitation techniques apply on different scenarios. Okay, so using those elicitation techniques, we will gather our requirements. Okay, so we try to draw out emotions, facts, opinions from the other person. In this case, this other person is nothing but our client. Okay, or the stakeholder. So we as business analysts will go and meet with the client. Okay, when I say meet does not mean meeting face to face. It could be a virtual meeting as well. Okay, so we go out, meet with the client, meet as in virtual meet also, and then try to gather their emotions, facts, or opinion, not personal emotions, but emotion about the topic for which we are going to build the software. Okay, so that is the elicitation. Then we will go through bunch of elicitation techniques like document analysis, then interview techniques, CAD session, brainstorming, to name a few. Okay, so we'll go through these bunch of elicitation techniques and how and under what scenarios these techniques are used to actually capture our requirements. Okay, so these techniques will help you gather your requirements, and this is where as business analyst you will be spending most of your time. Okay, next is business rules. Okay, business rules are nothing but the policies, procedures or guidelines that actually decide how a business operation should be performed. Okay, in simple word, what it means is, I'll give you an example. Okay, so let's say an email ID. Okay, we all use internet, we all have in email IDs as well. Now what's the regular format of email ID? Okay, maybe you will see email IDs in this format. Okay, so that we can mark as correct format. Okay, how about the below one? Okay, tell me guys, you can unmute. What about the below one? Is this a valid email ID or an invalid email ID? Okay, so looking at it, this is an invalid email ID. Okay, why invalid email ID? Because it is missing this at the rate symbol. Okay, it is missing this at the rate symbol, so that is why invalid email ID. Now all email IDs with this, they follow certain format. Okay, there will be user name. Okay, then there will be this at the rate symbol. Okay, and then at the end there will be domain name. So what is this username? Username could be ABC, then at the rate symbol, and then domain name could be gmail.com. Now if I combine all these, I will get my final output to look like ABC at the rate gmail.com. Okay, so there are three components in email ID: username, at the rate symbol, and then the domain name. Okay, when I have all three components present, then only it will be considered as a correct email ID. Okay, so business rules are nothing but the rules or criteria or policies or framework, you can call it anything, whether you call it rule, policy, framework, that helps us decide what is the correct format. Okay, so when we write down requirements, okay, so when we write down requirements, let's say login to the e-commerce application using email ID. Okay, I want to allow my users to log into the e-commerce application using email ID. Okay, so what happens is, a user can try to become smart, a user can try to uh, test the correctness of my system, or even someone can mischievously try to enter wrong details. They can enter details like this: at the rate gmail.com, at the rate gmail. Okay, or a b c d e f at the rate. They will not give any domain name. Now these are all examples of invalid email ID. Okay, so what I can do is, I can add a business rule that a valid email ID is always in this particular format. Okay, only if you identify an email ID in this particular format, you should allow it to log in. So now what happens is, all these email IDs, they normally become invalid. Why they are invalid? Because they don't follow the business rule. Okay, anything that does not follow the business rule becomes invalid. So business rules are helping me differentiate between what is valid versus what is invalid. Okay, and these business rules will help me go ahead only with valid request. So this is invalid, so there is no point in going ahead with such requests. Okay, so that is the next part. I'll write it down over here. They help differentiate between valid and invalid requests. Okay, so I will lay down a rule. So business rules will help decide what is valid versus what is invalid. See, elicitation techniques are giving me requirements. So I can write down a requirement like this over here. Okay, now this requirement alone is not enough. All these requirements, remember, are always supplemented by the business rules, because business rules is what helps us distinguish or differentiate between valid and invalid requests, like in this case. Okay, so that only when it is valid, this particular case is a valid one, so only when it is valid we move forward. Okay, for all invalid requests, like this one is invalid, we stop processing here. Okay, any questions so far, guys? Any questions so far with statement of work, scope, CR, elicitation, business rules? Okay, I'll take the silence as no questions. We'll move forward. The next is environment or regions. Now, when you go to any IT industry, you will keep hearing the things like the code is in development environment. We have still not started testing in QA environment. The code is not yet moved to QA environment, or the code is not available in UAT environment or UAT region. The code is not available in production environment or production region. Okay. So what are these environment or this region actually represent? Okay. So this is more of a concept for us as business analysts. We are not involved in setting up any environment. Okay. So let me give that information straight away. So we are not responsible for setting up any environment. So we are not doing any technical work. All we are trying to do is we are just trying to assess what is currently happening. So first of all, what is this environment or region concept? Okay, so you know what is actually a backup thing. Okay, so we have an original piece of data. Just because we don't want to lose our original piece of data, what we can do is we can take a backup of it. Okay, so that we have the same information available at a different place. In case if we lose the original data, we can always retrieve it using backup. Now the same thing happens in the case of environment as well. Okay, so we don't want our clients clients to get impacted at any point in time. So what we tell our developers is that you should first write code. Okay, whatever code you want to write, you first write code in the development environment. Okay, here only developer will have access to the application. Okay, so under development environment only developer has access. Now whatever developer is writing, we always understand that no one can write perfect code in first attempt. Okay, people can make mistakes. There are always chances of people making mistakes. So we don't want to directly touch the main application. So what we do is we copy the main application to the development environment. Now remember guys, whatever I'm saying, we copy the main application to the development environment. We are not doing this. Okay, we are not responsible for setting up this. Okay, this is usually an activity that will be carried out by the appropriate teams. They have to ensure that the main application is copied down to the development environment, and then once the main application is copied down to the development environment, then starts the next part, which is writing down the code, that is making modifications. Suppose my application currently deals with only selling books. I have an e-commerce application that only sells books. Okay, I'm updating my application to sell office supplies as well. Now, for adding office supplies, I may have to make some code changes. I, as in my developer, will have to make some code changes. So developer will not directly modify the main application. Okay, because main application will be used by number of different people. So chances are that it may not be directly in the main application. So developer will first try to make some changes in development environment. Okay, development environment is a replica or clone or copy of the main application. Okay, now once they have the clone ready, then what they try to do is they try to test it. Once their coding is complete, test it, and then there is something called as QA environment. So what they do is they move the updated application. Updated application is having code for office supplies to the QA environment. Okay, and QA environment is where now my testers will do the testing. Okay, QA environment is where testers will do the testing, so that they can identify whether there are any bugs or not, whether there are any defects or not. Now once that is also complete, then what happens is my testing team will give a go ahead green signal. The testing is complete, all good, I did not find any issues in the code, or whatever issues, if there were issues, find all those issues have been resolved as well. So they will give a green signal or a go ahead. So now what happens is, now the dedicated team will move the updated application to the UAT environment. Okay. UAT is what? UAT is user acceptance test. Okay. So what is this UAT? Now UAT is where we are asking now the customer to test it. So QA is where the IT team has tested it. QA environment is where the IT team has tested it. Now UAT environment is where we are asking the client to test it so that they also get the confidence. They also get to see how the application has been developed, whether it matches their expectations or not, because they have an opportunity at this point to give feedback. Okay, if they think that the application does not match their expectation, they can give the feedback on what is lacking. If they feel that the application is good, then what we do is the next step is move the updated application to the production environment. Okay, now production environment is where you guys, where end consumers like normal people like you and me start using the application, where we will log into the e-commerce application, buy books from it, or now with the updated code we can even search for office supplies and then buy office supplies from it. So in order to distinguish, or again in order to differentiate, so in IT they call it as parallel development. Okay, why we have so many environments or region to enable parallel development? What is this parallel development? Number one, we don't want to impact in any way the main application, because main application is being used by end consumers. Okay, we don't want them to feel any technical glitches or any technical issues just because we are updating our application. So what happens is, on one hand they continue to use our application, parallelly we try to make changes to the application, but we are making changes to a copy of the application. We are not changing the main application directly. We have a copy of the application and we are trying to modify that copy of the application. So once we feel comfortable that the copy of the application has been updated, there is no defect, no issues, everything's going well, then we merge the copy with the main application. Okay, done. So now we no longer have multiple pieces, now we just have one application. So we are doing, or we are enabling, or these environment or region concepts, or they enable parallel development without without impacting the main application. Okay? So that is how we ensure that customers, or the end consumers are always happy. See, businesses make money when end consumers are happy. Suppose if I am an e-commerce application, I will make more money when people are buying from my website, when people are buying different stuffs like book, office supplies from my website. People will buy from my website if they are happy with me. Okay, in order to keep people happy, you employ different strategies, like they should not feel technical issues. If they find more technical issue with my website, chances are they may not use it. Okay, next is estimations. Estimations offer different techniques through which we measure the work. The normal estimation uh, the normal estimation, you can say that we often use is hours. Okay, so majorly the normal estimation that we all work measure the work is in terms of hours, like it will take 7 hours to do the work, 10 hours to do the work, 20 hours to do the work. So estimation is the measure of the work. Okay, to ensure that we all agree with what is the timeline. Okay, unless we know how long will it take, how long will it take to do a work, how are we going to plan the work? Only when we know how long will it take, we can plan it. Suppose you want to travel from your home to office, only if you know that it is going to take half an hour to reach from home to office, you can plan your travel accordingly. If you don't even know how much time it will take from home to office, when are you going to start from home? Okay, so only when we know the estimates we can better plan our work. So what's the important of estimation? It helps us plan the work. Okay, now there are bunch of roles that are mentioned over here and that may be used frequently, so we'll cover those first. For example, consultants. Okay, for example, technical architects. So what are these consultants? Consultants are usually experts, or they can also be sometimes termed as SMEs or subject matter experts, who are predominantly either business, they have expertise on business side or on the technical side. Okay, but they are usually hired to provide consultation or guidance in a particular field or domain. Okay, majorly they are not involved in gathering requirements. Okay, a consultant is not a BA. Consultant will not gather requirement. A consultant is not a developer. Consultant will not write code. A consultant is not QA, quality assurance. So a consultant will not do testing also. Consider consultant as your mentor. Okay, if you guys face any problem, any issue, and you need someone's help or advice on how to move forward, you can always have consultants. Now sometimes consultants or technical architects, they may have overlapping roles. Okay, different organization can call the employees with different designation. Like instead of calling you a business analyst, they can call you a product owner also, or associate product owner, or a junior product owner. Okay, so a consultant is someone who is expert in a particular field or domain and is hired to provide their guidance on that field or domain. Suppose I am going to set up an online payment feature, but then I don't have any idea about how these payments are done. So I can hire a consultant, okay, who is an expert on the payment related area, and those consultant can help us drive our discussions with the clients. Okay, next is technical architects. Technical architects are the people who help design the system as a whole. Okay, so when we write down requirements as BA, the first person we may go to is technical architect. So once we have written down our requirement, we will go to technical architects to create a solution, system design. Because whatever design these technical architects will create, that design will be used as input by my development team. Okay. So consultants, they may be experts in a particular field or domain. Why I am telling you all this? Because as a business analyst, we not just meet with client, but we also try to meet with other bunch of peoples in order to get the work done. Okay, so in coming days we will look at few of the skills or competencies that are required by a business analyst. One of the skills of a business analyst is that they are leaders. Okay, why they are leaders? Because they ensure that why they are leaders? Because they ensure that we get the work done, we get the work moving. Even though I am not responsible for writing the code, but I will somehow talk to the developer. Okay, I will somehow talk to the developer to ensure that they are doing their work effectively. I cannot track their work, I cannot manage their work, but I will keep talking to them to ensure that the work keeps moving forward. Okay, similarly, I know that my development team will require a solution document or a system design document for them to get started. So I will talk to technical architects first. Even though I'm not creating the system design, but I'll talk to technical architects. I'll keep meeting with them until my solution document is ready. Okay. So I don't have to track their work. I don't have to micromanage anyone. I don't have to sit on head of anyone, but I just have to keep reminding them that there is some work that is pending with you. Okay. So that is the quality of a leader. You don't micromanage people, but you just remind them about the importance of the work, so that they don't forget it. And that is why we are going through these terms, because these are the bunch of people with whom we will interact to get the work done. Even though we may not be the responsible person, they may be the responsible person, but we are kind of reminding them. Then there will be leads. Often they are called as dev lead or development lead. These are experienced people who have lot of experience in writing code. Okay. And they are the one who will guide their developers on how to write code, what code to write. Okay, things like that. So development lead will use solution document created by technical architects, will read the solution document, create the design document for the developers to follow. Test lead. Okay, we talked about people who do testing, QA people. So if QA people has any questions, or we can say leads are responsible for addressing any questions in their respective team. So a development lead will address all questions of developers, a test lead will address all questions of testers. Okay. When I say questions, questions relate to their technical part. How do I do testing? How do I write code? I am facing issue while writing code. There is some issue. How do I fix it? Okay. So for these, I require more training. I don't have knowledge. I require more training on so and so knowledge, on so and so language. So their respective lead will take care of these technical issues or queries of their team. Okay. So a development lead will look after developers, a test lead will look after the testers or QA. They will ensure that people under them are doing their work effectively. Why we need to know about development lead or test lead is, suppose if a developer is having trouble writing code, we can at least reach out to their leads. Okay. Sometimes you want to escalate also, that a developer is not doing their work effectively. I want to escalate against it. I can reach out to their leads, that the developer under you is not doing good work. Sometimes it is not about escalation. Sometimes it is also about helping people, that a developer sometimes can get biased. They may think that I should be able to resolve my issues on my own. I should not take any help from others. That's where we as business analysts can simply reach out to their lead and mention that uh, that the developer is stuck with some issue. Could you please help him fix the issue? Okay. Last one is defect, bug, or issue. What is a defect? Defect or bug or issue is deviation from the standard or expected output. Okay. For example, let's say I have I want to build a system. I want to buy books from e-commerce application. Okay. So what is my expected output? My expected output is I should be able to buy books. Okay. But suppose I get some error. Like suppose I added books to my cart and then I move to payment page. Okay. Money has been deducted from my account. Money has been deducted from my account, but it is showing as payment failure. Okay, now that is not the expected output. Money deducted from my account while buying book, but the e-commerce application says payment failure. Okay, so that is not an expected output. When money is deducted, I should see payment successful and not payment failure message. Okay, so that could be a deviation from the expected output. So whenever there is deviation from the expected output in IT industry, we call it as defect, bug, or issue, that there is some issue, there is some problem. And whenever there is defect or bug or issue, someone will have to fix it. Any questions so far, guys? Any questions? We have three more terms: stakeholders, SME, and change management. So SME is subject matter expert. Okay, these are usually people from the client side who have been doing their work. Okay, with whom you usually interact. Suppose uh, suppose for health insurance related stuff, there are certain people who have expertise in filing claims. Okay, and suppose you want to automate the process of filing claims, then what you do, you meet these SMEs who have been manually filing claims. Okay, suppose you want to open up a bank account, you go to a bank and then you find the person who is filling up the application for opening up bank account. Now you want to automate this process, you want to create a software which can allow users to open bank account online itself. They don't have to go to a bank, they don't have to fill up any application over there. Now, what are the checks and balances that people in the bank do while opening up the account is something that you can ask them. Okay, so people who are involved in this day-to-day work at the client side, they are usually termed as SME. They are subject matter experts, that they have opened up so many bank accounts that they remember on top of their head what are the checks and balances they need to take care of while opening up a bank account. So when you meet them, when you talk to them, you will be able to understand what your requirements are easily. Okay, so SMEs are usually from the client side, and mainly we try to meet with SME to get our requirements. Okay, stakeholders. Okay, stakeholders are participants or people who own the business idea. At this moment we are restricting our discussion to business stakeholders, but when we go to stakeholder management class, we will see that there could be different types of stakeholders. Even my developer, tester, and BA is also a stakeholder. Okay, so we will see a more refined definition of stakeholder, but for now, we will restrict the usage of word stakeholder to client only. Okay. So the person or the participants who own the business idea, who is investing money in building this application, that will be your stakeholder. Then the last term is change management. Okay, so what is this change management? In the starting we talked about a term, change request. Okay, so change request is whenever my client wants a change in the current or the existing software or existing product, is change request. Okay, so whenever a client raises a change request or a CR, my project manager or scrum master who is assigned to that project will be responsible for managing the entire process. Okay, managing the entire process means that there is a BA assigned, that BA is meeting with the stakeholders to get requirements, that there is a developer assigned, that developer is doing their work effectively. They will also ensure that a QA is assigned and that the QA is also able to do their work effectively. So they're managing the entire CR or managing the entire process. Okay, so that is change management. Okay, so that is the change management thing. Now, as a business analyst, you may not be responsible for managing or tracking the progress of anyone's work, but it is always good to know that there will be project manager or scrum master who will be responsible for managing these entire process. Who is assigned, how effectively they are doing the work, whether they are on track, off track, okay, and those type of things. Now, keep in mind these terms as we go forward. We will continue to explore these terms in more detail. But going forward, whenever I use terms like SME, consultants, or technical architects or stakeholders, okay, don't get confused because these are the terms that we are going to use more often, because these terms will help us help us get used to the day to day vocabulary or day to day language that a business analyst uses in their work. Okay, any questions, guys, before we end our discussion for the day?
Yes, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, earlier you talk about frequent change requests by the client. When that happen, what is the BA supposed to do?
Good question. So, uh, when the frequent changes happen, what we usually do is see one or two time if the requirement is changing from A to B or B to A. Once in a while, we try to entertain it. We try to tell the client that it is okay to have changing requirements. But when it is changing frequently, we we try to tell them about the issues or the impact that the frequent changes can have. Okay, if I directly tell my client that hey, you are changing requirement frequently, that is not the way things are done, so we can get into a heated debate or arguments. So instead of that, what we try to do is we try to tell the customer or the client that hey, because you are changing requirements so frequently, my team is unable to focus on what needs to be worked. This loss of focus or inability of focus is leading to quality issues. Okay, ultimately the software is going to be used by your consumers. If they have quality issues as in if there are defects or bugs in the software, then it will make your software unusable. Okay, so let's fix our requirements so that we can move forward. If we directly tell them that let's fix our requirements, they may not probably listen to you. But if you highlight what is exactly going wrong and then ask them to fix the requirements, then they will definitely listen. So that is your level 1 approach, that we tell them that your frequent changes is leading to inability to focus, which in turn leads to quality issues. That is level 1. Level 2 is when client, even after you telling them, is still asking for frequent changes. Then what we try to do is we try to include our senior people. We may try to include us, let's say our project manager or scrum master. We try to tell them that the client is making frequent changes in requirement, and these frequent changes will impact our timelines. We will never be able to deliver the work on time if they keep changing requirements. It is leading to quality issues plus incomplete work. So we level 2 is, then we try to involve scrum master or project manager to convince client to not change requirements frequently. Even if that also fails level 2, then level 3 is you involve your management. Even if level 3 also fails, then level 4 is you don't have any option, you have to do the work. So whether you like it or not, the level 4, if you go to level 4 situation, whether you like it or not, you have to do the work. Maybe client is much more influential, so they have convinced everyone that I will keep changing the requirement and you will do the work.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Sure. Any other question, guys? Okay, if no question, thanks for your time. We'll connect tomorrow at the same time.